Hello and welcome to Boomer Live once again, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are live after a massive win, which New Zealand have actually capitulated to South Africa. And after a massive loss, which New Zealand had to suffer, it was a big loss by 190 runs. And South Africa not only have defeated them in the Rugby World Cup, but has also humiliated them in the Cricket World Cup by 190 runs. So this certainly means one thing, that the net run rate of New Zealand has dropped down drastically, and Kudrat ka
Yeah.
Nizam is right overhead of all of us right now. And to add to all of this mystery, we can also talk about the very fact that how South Africa has played some good cricket in this World Cup. I mean,
Yeah.
the cricket which South Africa has played every time they batted first is just beyond outstanding. Every time you think they can't score 350, they just keep scoring 350 and above that and keep bowling oppositions out in the second innings. The template is very simple: bat at 6 or 5 for the first 40 overs and smash it all in the last 10. A very old school cricketing thing to do, but it's been working for them. And bat first, runs on the board, ball them out. A very old school tactic, but it's working in wonders for South Africa at this moment. I have Jaren with me, but Jaren, just as I was talking about this, old school cricket so far for South Africa in the tournament, and it's working really good.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think my favorite part about it is this is coming at the same time that, the revolutionizers of cricket, England, are struggling to the core. So all of a sudden, we're going back to, I think, a weird amalgamation of what is now being called baseball, but obviously in one-day cricket, it came long before Brendan McCullum. So I think probably the English way of playing one-day cricket as kind of mixed up with the traditional play of playing one-day cricket where you preserve your wickets. And now it has come to a point where, I think South Africa has become the reverse England, where they, instead of, going uber aggressive right away, they preserve the wicket and wait for the opportunity to go uber aggressive. I mean, just looking at the way they excel today, had a very slow start. I still think the kind of slow start they had a lot to do with Temba Bauma and the fact that he struck out again 85.7 runs per over, took around 9% of the deliveries that was available for them, and that's why they in the power play they played at only 4.3 runs per over. Compare that to New Zealand, they had a better power play if not for those two wickets that they had lost. But then the middle overs and the death overs is where they really milked South African bowling, and it's not like South Africa bowled bad lengths. I think it was more that it was not the New Zealand ball bad lengths. Rather, it was just that the fact that someone like the New Zealand bowlers were not able to really stop Quinton de Kock or Rassie van der from not scoring runs. They were just able to find their own way. They were able to score runs, and regardless of the dot balls, I think it just wasn't going their way, and a lot of drop catches as well. And that's been the case for them in the past. I think two innings, right? The India match, they still did really well with the fielding, but again, at the start they had a few errors, and then I think the previous match against Australia was absolutely horrendous. And today again, quite a lot of mistakes. Quinton de Kock's catch being dropped by a Mitch Santner, absolutely worrying really, because remember Santner did something very similar against Australia as well. I think it was Travis Head that he dropped there, or was it a David Warner? Either of them he dropped there. And the reason why I'm so surprised about it is because ICC just released a list of the best fielders in the World Cup, and Mitch Santner is the top of the list.
Yeah, exactly. No, very interesting. The New Zealand have really lost their way post that India game, you can say. So Australia game,
Yeah.
we really appreciated them for that particular knock, what they displayed, especially some of the players. Rachin Ravindra's knock was exemplary, or we can talk about how they came extremely close. But yeah, you can also say today things were not really in their favor. Matt Fentry's loss maybe would have cost them 30 runs more. And to add to that, Jimmy Neesham also was not doing at his best. When he came to ball his second spell, he had a finger injury which he had to carry through, and he came to ball even in the last over he conceded an excess of 18 runs. So it wasn't really helping him. And New Zealand team, now without having that fourth or fifth bowling option, they were really looking for names to come in and fill a role. No Matt Henry, no Jimmy Neesham, and it was just like a team which was completely depleted with really low confidence. You saw them the way they started off as well. And one thing about the South African team is they come in and make a statement straight away with their ball. Let it be Marco Jansen throughout this tournament. One thing he's been doing consistently is that he comes in and makes a statement by picking up a wicket up front. And then it follows up with Gerald Coetzee or Lungi and Giri Rabada. I mean, Rabada, Gerald Coetzee in the middle overs. Let's add a Keshav Maharaj. This team is absolutely piping hot at this moment. I mean, probably the best four fast bowlers you have to deal with throughout the course of 40, 50 overs. And to add to that, a Keshav Maharaj who is extremely skillful with the ball. And then you have a power pack batting attack where Quinton de Kock is scoring centuries for fun in this World Cup. Let's be honest, he's decided to retire from World Cup, decided to retire from international cricket after the World Cup. But after his performances, you really want to rethink about that particular call he has made, because you know at the end of the day that this is maybe way too early for him, or this is the best way any batter would have ever gone out of any tournament. You've announced it. There's your farewell tournament, and you've come into this World Cup scoring next to 550 runs already with 400s right behind Rohit Sharma and Kumar Sangakkara. I mean, you have to say he's having a World Cup to remember at this point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think in the press conference as well, he said right that he just wants to keep batting. But I think when you come to Quinton de Kock, he's one of those guys. The more relaxed he is, the better a player he is. And I think in many ways he has given up that that overall thinking of okay, now I am a senior in the South African team, and which is odd by the way. I mean, we've all grown up watching Quinton de Kock. I still remember when I was a young lad, Quinton de Kock coming up against India, debuting in that India tour, where wearing the pink jersey, he thrashed Indian bowlers, and babyface assassin is what he was called at that point in time. And he's still that babyface assassin, but he's grown leaps and bounds ever since. And he's I think very close to breaking Sachin Tendulkar's record that was set in 2011. Now he's equaled it if I'm not wrong with 4 centuries, one more, and he breaks it. So I think Rohit and Sachin have that record at 4 each. Now Quinton has the chance to
I think
break
it's
it.
5, isn't it?
It's 4. It's
Rohit
4.
at 5. Rohit at 5. Tendulkar at 5.
Was
I'm
it?
not wrong. Yeah.
I remember
Kumar
Tendulkar
Sangakkara at
scored
4.
against England, South Africa. Oh yeah, today he's broken Sangakkara's record. Correct.
I think he's equal
Absolutely, yeah.
Sangakkara. He's equal Sangakkara, but yeah.
He's equal
That's really
Sangakkara, and I
fair.
think he's got 2 more centuries. I think he's got another 4 matches if they enter the finals. So there's still a possibility. It's 2 more league matches, then a semi-final and a final. Who knows?
I mean, this
I
guy
think
is
it'll be
good
the
enough to
best way.
play the next World Cup, in my opinion, because it's in his home turf, the next World Cup,
Yeah.
which is in South Africa. I think he should rethink about his decision. I mean, I understand that
I
a lot
think
of
the
these players
decision he
want to go.
made. Yeah, I mean, when I remember reading that press conference, he made the decision because he said he wants to spend more time with his family. So I think he's going that franchisee route, and he feels like he's done enough for the South African team. And you're still going to have to travel a lot, and I don't see a lot of one-day cricket being played as well. Between these 4 years, probably 2027 is the World Cup. So 2026 onwards, you'll see teams again playing a lot of one-day World Cup. But I think for the next 3 years, probably
But
even with the
there's a
Champions Trophy.
2025 Champions Trophy as well. I think
Yeah, the
this cycle
Champions
is better
Trophy as
than the
well.
last cycle.
So I think the Champions Trophy, the penultimate year of the Champions Trophy and the One Day World Cup is the only 2 years you'll see a lot of One Day World Cup being played. So I think that being said, that'll be probably also something he considers. And I think in many ways I understand he isn't very old, but then if you really want to make money out of the before your retirement, this is probably the best time to leave and go and play franchise cricket. Now, obviously, there is a question of whether your patriotism versus the amount of money and stuff like that. For me, at least personally, he's done enough for South Africa. He's done a brilliant job for South Africa. His retirement comes at the perfect time because you've got someone like Reza Hendricks. You've got quite a lot of batters who are actually coming out of South Africa who love to open the
Yeah.
batting. And wicketkeeper Hendrik Lassen is already ready to take over. So I think it is a perfect time for Quinton de Kock to just let hang off his shoes and go play franchise cricket.
I agree. I agree. I mean, a lot of players are extremely tempted to go towards that particular line of thought of getting away from the central contracts or consider retirement in international cricket and step into the franchise-based cricket, because a lot of leagues across the world, easy money, a lot of time. But Quinton de Kock will be a very sad story because I mean, the player of his form right now, if he makes a decision this early in his career, you can say it's just unfortunate. I personally think he's got one more World Cup in his legs easily. I mean, he doesn't have to really
Definitely.
wicket keep. Maybe as a batter, he certainly has got one more World Cup, but it's his call at the end of the day. I mean, what a way for him to just go out if he's already made that decision 100%. There is no better way for him to go out than this way. I mean, if South Africa also goes on to win the World Cup, I mean, he'd want to consider retirement. You wouldn't want to come back after that. But let's just talk about South African team and their chances in this World Cup now. Now, do you consider them to be the real big thing? Because okay, India are there one stage, but right after India, can we just say South Africa the next big thing?
Oh yeah, I mean, and they're looking like a team which is playing a fearless brand of cricket where you don't usually associate fearless brand of cricket with South Africa, but they have been doing it today, and that's something that is very interesting to see. Also, the fact that a team like South Africa has changed the way they approach cricket. I mean, we always knew they are an aggressive team, but right now, I think one of their biggest assets is also the kind of balance they have. Right, if there was only there's only one team that could really counter the balance you had. And that South Africa had was India, and that's the reason why they've done so well. But then Hardik Pandya's injuries really thrown that balance off course. And the reason I say that is because of Marco Jansen. He's got the best. If you compare both the batting average and the bowling average, he's been one of the best all rounders this World Cup. He's been the least when it comes to the bowling average in terms of all rounders. He's got a bowling average of 20 and a batting average of 47.67. That's amazing. And no one has really done that in terms of bowling, at least. Rachin Ravindra is the only one. There are a few others you would say were challenging him when it comes to batting. But bowling has been incredible to see. Marco Jansen, someone who's giving you 47 runs per match and still able to take wickets every 20 runs is just phenomenal to have in your team.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with you on that particular factor that, how Marco Jansen has really given this team balance. And remember, his ability to pick up wickets up front is even more lethal than whatever he's providing with the bat, because he's the new ball bowler. He's running in and picking up wickets for fun right now. Let's be very honest. He's been one of the most deadlier bowlers to face with the new ball in this entire tournament. We don't talk about him enough because he's not there with the big names of Bumrah or a Shaheen or with a Trent Bolt of that sort. But to be very fair on him, he has been one of the bowlers of the tournament up front with the new ball. He's lethal. He's got that extra bounce, and he makes the batters to really get into awkward positions because that bounce which he generates of normal good lengths because of his height, which is a massive factor for him, is just crazy, and that really helps him in a long way. And when a
Yeah.
pitch like Pune today, you saw how New Zealanders were troubled by the bounce. How, for example, Rachin Ravindra, or for that matter, when Devin Conway went for the drive, he was caught out there. I mean, he couldn't really get on top of the bounce in a couple of occasions before that ball as well. So I'd say Marco Jansen has been one of the bowlers to watch out. Even you saw against Pakistan how good he was in using that short ball. But let's just look at the points table right now, because it's just gotten a little more exciting to talk about the points table right now. If you look at the points table on your screen right now, it's a very interesting points table. If you look at it, New Zealand are in a lot of trouble right now. Let's clear that out.
Yeah.
And to add to that, as Joshua mentions about Afghanistan, I mean, let's be honest, more than Pakistan over here, Afghanistan are in with a good shout, possibly. Yeah, Jaren. I think we've lost Jaren a little bit. I think as Jen joins back, we can talk about it. Yeah, as I was saying, at this point, Afghanistan is a team who's possibly got it as well. I mean, let's be honest; they've got a couple of games against New Zealand, against Australia and South Africa. If they can get one win out of that, let's look at Afghanistan's net run rate right now. Right now, if you put their net run rate with Pakistan, you'd feel their net run rate is quite bad because they suffered a heavy defeat against a New Zealand team, which would come back to haunt them, and the defeat against Bangladesh. I think the defeat against Bangladesh is hurting them right now. Imagine if they had not lost to Bangladesh, for that matter. They would be in a better position right now than what they are, right? What they find themselves to be right now in. But then, if Afghanistan can pull off the next three games, now they're also in a winning momentum. As I mentioned, they defeated Pakistan, they defeated Sri Lanka, and if they can go on to defeat Netherlands and then Australia and South Africa, which is the last game where they play in Narendra Modi Stadium, you never know. I mean, with Australia, remember Glenn Maxwell just suffered an injury today, uh, falling off a golf cart, and the worst possible thing. And really, Glenn Maxwell could have gotten that injury. Nobody else, I believe, could have gotten that injury because it was a very Glenn Maxwell like thing to do as well, to fall off a golf cart and to get injured. But having said that, to be very fair, I personally think Australia could find themselves in a little bit of bother. Now, if you look in the larger scheme of things, I think Jaren is back. I think Jaren is still facing some connection issues. Maybe you
Yeah.
can rejoin again, maybe.
Am I audible now? Is
Yeah,
it
you're
better?
better. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, as I was saying, one thing about Afghanistan, I mean, you rightly mentioned about the fact that they'll be ruining their Bangladesh game a lot. They'll not turn up there. If they had, you would imagine that this loss, I think this loss at this point in time, obviously, two winners from this loss is also Pakistan and Afghanistan, along with South Africa. And I think if you look at Pakistan and Afghanistan, Afghanistan are the better ones, are the ones who have the bigger advantage because they have one less game, and they've played one less game, and they potentially have an opportunity to get at least 4 more points, because you would say that an Afghanistan can now beat the likes of Sri Lanka and I mean the likes of Netherlands. So that 2 points is confirmed. The question is, can they beat Australia and South Africa? That's the only concern, especially as South Africa was going so strong. So is so is Australia, and Pakistan as well will be the happier one. Now they face a very underconfident New Zealand in the next match. That's going to be a big plus for them. That's going to be a big match as well in terms of in the context of this World Cup, because whoever wins that automatically, I think eliminates the other, or at least uh, to almost 1 foot out of the World Cup for sure. For something like New Zealand, they still have an opportunity. They still have a way to come back, but then the net run rate will become an important factor. For Pakistan, it's do or die. If they are out, if they lose, they're out. So that's a big worry for them. And Afghanistan, in all this chaos, might just slip in. So three teams still in the hunt, and I think Sri Lanka is well somewhere outside. They have an outside chance still. So important match Sri Lanka tomorrow against India. But then you can probably say, looking at how Sri Lanka has played, that in terms of their form, they might not make it to the finals, even if they have an outside chance.
Yeah, if you look at Sri Lanka, if you look at it from the perspective of how they can come back, I think they've got some big games as well. Sri Lankan team, they've got Bangladesh, but they've got to play New Zealand, so that is a tough game for them. If they can get over New Zealand, that'll be massive. But first, they have to get over India. If India loses tomorrow, that is, then you can say Sri Lanka will slightly feel better, because I still think against Bangladesh, they can start as favorites. You never know. Maybe if they want to up the net run rate against Bangladesh, they can go on to do that. So, and against New Zealand, if New Zealand is going to lose against Pakistan and come to that game, then Sri Lanka will be a different game. It all depends on tomorrow's game for Sri Lanka. If Sri Lanka go on to defeat India, that is, then you never know. You certainly never know.
Yeah.
Because then you are saying Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, then even the Netherlands is in the hunt.
Yeah, and the Netherlands also have only played 6 matches, 4 points. They have, in fact, I think they have similar chances to that of Sri Lanka, right? They also have three
They
more
have,
matches to go. If they can get 6 more points, they get to 10. I think 10 is a magical number at this point in time for all the teams. At least if you reach 10, at right now, right? As of now, 10, yeah. Because Pakistan can reach 10. Afghanistan can reach 12 at this point in time with 3 matches in hand. And Sri Lanka and Netherlands both can reach 10. So for Sri Lanka and Netherlands, they'll want both Pakistan and Afghanistan to lose, especially Afghanistan to lose their next match. I think Afghanistan losing one match will make Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Netherlands feel good.
yeah.
So that's for sure. And then probably, it equals the playing field, because all of them can only reach 10 then. But if Afghanistan wins all three and New Zealand does not win their next two, they sneak in. So that's the reason why I say Afghanistan at least mathematically has a lot more opportunity, because they've played one game less than most of their competitors, or they have won one more game than most of their competitors. So that's why they have the advantage. But the
Yeah.
issue being, can they continue that run of form against two of the biggest teams in this World Cup? Australia and South Africa is the bigger
But if
concern.
they go on to do it, then they deserve a spot in the semi-final. Let's agree to it. I
Of
mean, if they
course,
go on to
of
do that,
course.
if they go on to do any
I mean,
sort
you
of
would probably
I think it
argue that
depends a
they
lot on the
definitely
toss.
deserve to.
I still
Yeah,
think
you would
they
argue
have a
that they
good
deserve
chance
to
against
win the pitch.
Australia more than they have against South Africa. I don't know about South Africa. It depends if they're going to chase in Narendra Modi Stadium or not. A lot of factors do pip in there. But against Australia, I still think Australian bowling can be targeted and it can go for plenty of runs. And if Australian batters, if they get into the middle order with the likes of Rashid, and I still think they should play someone like a Noor Ahmed against Australia and see how he performs. Now,
Yeah.
as I mentioned about Glenn Maxwell as well, being injured, we do not know his availability. As of now, he misses out the English match. But if he also misses out the Afghanistan match, you never know. I mean, to be very fair, Australia can be slightly more
I mean,
jittery in the middle
from
order once you
what we've
break
been
through.
told, Abel, it's a concussion. So I don't know if he'll miss the Afghanistan match. Also, what I'm understanding is so Australia has this because they're also involved in rugby and all these games. The concussion is a commonplace. They have a very strict concussion guidelines. And that's the reason why I think he's missing out tomorrow. There's a certain test, a medical test done, which he's failed. I'm not really aware about the details of it, but from what I know, it is more it is more precautionary than a necessary change. And I think that's the
Yeah.
reason why he'll probably make it into the next few matches. He would have made it tomorrow as well, but they don't want to risk him because of those guidelines that
But
Australia itself has, right?
it's not
Cricket
tomorrow,
Australia
right?
itself.
They're playing in another 3 days.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
That was a bit odd
It's
to
not.
me as well, and that's the reason why that's when I investigated and realized that it's not a necessary change. It's more of a precautionary change because of the kind of
Okay.
guidelines they have, and they feel he needs a bit of rest.
But if
And
you
I think
look
against
Australia,
England, yeah,
Australia play who
that's a
all
big
next?
match.
Who all do Australia play
I think
next?
they play
Australia
England,
play
Australia, England, Australia is for sure. Sorry, England
and
and
Bangladesh.
Afghanistan is for sure.
Yeah, so Australia play
Bangladesh,
Bangladesh, Australia play Afghanistan,
yeah,
and England. I think against England, Australia should fancy their chance until unless England really finds some motivation to thrash Australia, because remember, it's a big game for them. And this could be the game which could turn
yeah,
around England's chance for the Champions Trophy hunt. They have something to play for there. But other than that, I really think it's in Narendra Modi Stadium in Australia. I give them the better chances there. But if Australia can sneak in there, let's be honest, which is a possibility, I think things can get very interesting. I mean, if Australia win against England, then you have settled it there. Then they'll be coming up against Afghanistan. And if Australia loses to Afghanistan, that is, then things can be very interesting, because then that game on November the 11th, Afghanistan versus South Africa, becomes a virtual knockout. I mean, for no, Afghanistan rather,
Hmm.
or a knockout for
Yeah, yeah.
Afghanistan, because who wins that will make it to the semi final. But I think I fancy my chances for Afghanistan against Netherlands and against Australia for one reason. Mumbai is where the venue is going to be. In Mumbai, ball will come onto the bat, and if you're going to bat first, score as many as you
Yeah.
want, and then make your spin quarter to come in and rule over Australia, which is quite a possibility. Like so, David Warner, Travis said they don't like spin early on, and with that jittery Australian middle order, you could be in with a chance. And I think Afghanistan, I really fancy the chance against Australia, and even against South African team for that matter. I mean, let's be honest. If South Africa are chasing against Afghanistan at 260, 270 odd, with Rashid in Ahmedabad, and also with Noor, who's also played a lot in Ahmedabad this season, man, things could get very interesting. I mean, I think we're not talking about Afghanistan enough, but if they make it to semi-final, it is the story of the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I think Afghanistan, as I said, right, Afghanistan have the best opportunity to get into the semi-final. If you look at the competitors, but only issue is they also have the toughest run of matches going ahead. If you look at a Pakistan, you would say that now the way New Zealand is playing, it's a possibility. Obviously, Pakistan will be the more confident team, right? They will feel like that they are able to get the momentum on their way. On the other hand, New Zealand, coupled with the injuries and the fact that they've lost 3 games on the bounce, even though it's against 3 of the best teams. In fact, they've lost 3 matches against the teams who have played better than them in this World Cup:
Yeah,
Australia,
it's the
India,
three
and
best teams who
South
won the
Africa.
1, 2, and 3. New Zealand have had no struggles against
Yeah,
teams
exactly.
below them.
So
They only had struggles against teams above them.
exactly. But my worry though, Emil, is the fact that imagine if a New Zealand is again chasing against the Pakistan team. Pakistan likes to bat first, put up a decent target, and then
Remember where
defend.
the
That's
ground,
Pakistan's
where the
MO.
match is going to be played in? It's in Chinnaswamy. I mean, I don't think New Zealand should really mind chasing anything in Chinnaswamy. If New Zealand would want to chase, that's in
Yeah,
that
I
ground
mean,
more
you're
than
right
anywhere
about
else.
that. I think that Chinnaswamy might just give them that advantage. That's one factor I'll agree. And probably another issue for them is I think another issue for Pakistan also will be the fact that where will they hide an Usama Mir and whoever the second spinner is? Probably Iftikhar at this point in time, it looks like. Because even last game they went for plenty of runs in a game where Pakistani fast bowlers were on top. The spinners went for 5.85 runs per over wickets. So that's an issue for them in Chinnaswamy for Pakistan. But if they can get across that, right? If they are batting first and then making New Zealand chase, and if Shaheen Shafii repeats what he did against Bangladesh, I think that's the way for Pakistan to believe that they can win. I think that's the way for Pakistan to win over New Zealand in that match.
I agree. I mean, that's a good point. But I think today's game, would have given New Zealand one positive glimmer is that Glenn Phillips scored some runs. That's some bit of positive.
Yeah,
The
he's
first
playing
New
these
Zealand
kind of
game,
innings.
very
Right? Even
gloomy
last
game.
time, I think last time as well, when everyone was falling around him, I think last time when he scored in the World Cup was a similar situation where he played with the tail. So I think maybe this kind of situation brings something out in him. Maybe he feels like I can do this job
Yeah,
more than just
possibly.
going bad shit crazy.
Possibly, that's one factor which you can consider. But having said that, I also think for New Zealand, they will have to really regroup and put these losses behind, especially today's one. But they just feel it was not their day. The South African
Yeah.
match for Afghanistan will be easier if Afghanistan can bat first. Yeah, I agree to
You
that.
know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I think we're still too far ahead for that. By then, you would know who are in the tournament, who are not in the tournament. How do the chances lie at that point? This stage, a lot of things can change over the next 1 week. All of a sudden, tournament has gotten much more interesting with New Zealand losing games. So that's one good part to talk about this World Cup's last end. But having said that, I also feel for me, New Zealand have to really consider on backing their pacers to pick up wickets up front. And if Matt Henry is injured, they'll have to call for a replacement because they cannot just play with the Tim Southee and Trent Boult. Do you believe it that it was just Tim Southee's second one day after World Cup final in 2015? So he's not played a one day for the last 8 years. That's crazy. It's crazy stat to have. He's played a lot of T20 cricket, but not a lot of one day cricket. So even if you bring in Tim Southee, he's not the most experienced campaigner when it comes to 50 over format. So you would have to consider these factors. And I don't know about Lockie Ferguson and his injury status right now. Matt Henry and his injury status. So they'll have to get fast bowlers and they'll have to pick up wickets in Shinnaswamy. And if they're chasing, they'd rather chase in Shinnaswamy rather than anywhere else. And they'd be an underconfident team right now after today's batting performance. But then I can assure you, Pune was the worst place they could have chased against South African team. I still think Pune is one of the most bounciest tracks in India. And South Africa really enjoy playing. It felt like South Africa was playing at their home ground.
yeah, and New Zealand don't enjoy bouncy tracks. I mean, look at the record in South Africa, in Australia. They genuinely do like bouncy tracks. That's also because I think primarily, New Zealand obviously is a softer soil. The ball does usually hit the top of off if you ball a good length. It's not as low as Indian soil, obviously, but it's
I think we've lost Jaren once again. As Jaren joins back, we'll just continue. So as Jen was mentioning about New Zealand's struggle against Australian pitches, or in South African pitches, it has to do a lot with the way in which New Zealand have been born and bred in those conditions where the ball does swing around, where you get on your front foot a lot. And if you look at the dismissals of today's game, Rachin Ravindra for that matter, or for the matter how Will Young was struggling against the bouncy deliveries, though he did not get out to a bouncy one, but he was put under the pressure by the South African team, was trying to bounce him out multiple times, or for the matter in which Tom Latham was put under tremendous pressure today once again. I think one thing which did not really expect what New Zealand thought would really happen is the ball was seaming around. The ball was seaming around even in the 30th over, and that was just surprising and something which we have seen in Pune for quite a long while. Now, if you remember, since 2020, a lot of these games later on in the evening, the ball does tend to do quite a lot more than what it does in the day, and I can't really find a reason for that. It could possibly because of the temperature changes or climatical changes. Other than that, I can't really pinpoint a reason to why does a ball do quite a lot in that Maharashtra Cricket Association stadium. And that's one thing which South African ball is injured. All of a sudden, it looked like they were playing in Durban or Cape Town,
I think
where the ball was seaming
one of the
around,
things that
bouncing.
definitely. I
Yeah,
mean,
go
the
ahead.
swing can still be explained, because the Pune Stadium is created in a way that there's a lot more wind flow. and there are not many trees around. If you just look at that whole area, you'll find that not much trees around. It's near a highway, so swing understandable, but yeah, I mean, seaming wicket, because it's been one of the best wickets for fast bowlers in India. I remember, I think one of the first few matches that we played here, India was bundled out by England on a very green wicket, which is something unheard of in India at that point in time. So yeah, you're right. It is surprising, but I think the bounce is what really did them, because I saw all the dismissals today. If you see, right, just felt like New Zealand batters were getting too committed on the front foot, or they were getting stuck. While on the other hand, if you look at the early, even the Temba Bowma dismissal, right, very good example of how you shouldn't play on this pitch. Tried to play on the up, drive the ball on the up, and he got an edge. After that, you saw
Yeah,
Rassie van der Dussen and Quinton de Kock both playing on the back foot, and really, even the spinners, they played completely off the back foot. So you
absolutely.
didn't see a lot of down the ground shots, and I think New Zealand, a lot of their batters are front foot strong batters, and that we saw the wickets were also the ones where either they were committing on the front foot or being stuck, not really going back, and that's one of the reasons I felt these wickets came in.
Absolutely. I think South Africa really enjoyed that surface more than any other
Yeah.
team. And they'd won one more game here. They'd won all their games here, rather, because they'd feel like they're playing more at home than anywhere else because of those conditions. With the bounce, what they get, they can go into the back foot, they can play on the up, and they don't really have to worry about anything else. So that's about it from us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good discussion which we had today. Thank you all for joining once again. Do not forget to check out our app, which is Boomer 11, for a fantasy feature and also a predictor feature. Do check out our premium contest where you can get into our shop, purchase some goodies, accessories, groceries, and earn some Boomer coins and use those Boomer coins for playing fantasy contests and where you can win a lot of prizes, a mega prizes, price of worth 5,000 dirhams. So do not forget to check that out. And also check out our free to play fantasy feature and also a predictor feature where you can predict tomorrow's scores. Remember, India are taking on Sri Lanka tomorrow, big game. India will want to keep them winning momentum. Sri Lanka want to stay alive in the tournament. So all these things, a lot of factors to consider. Thank you, Jiren, once again. And good night, all of you. See you all tomorrow. Bye bye.
Good night, guys.